Alright, so this is going to be something very different. We are going to work on the Millennium Falcon. I've probably picked one of the worst times of the year to start this, as it's late fall. If I need to do any painting or anything, I'm going to have to figure that out. I may end up having to build my own airbrush cabinet, because I do have an airbrush. Never used it, but there might be an opportunity to have an airbrush cabinet. Even if I use a rattle can, I could use the cabinet. So if I do that, I'll probably show at least part of the construction of that. So here we are with issue 1, and this is probably a much anticipated and wanted series on my channel, that since I've teased it about a year ago. So I'm just going to kind of briefly go through this magazine here. So this is issue 1. Each issue is going to have different points of interest and information about it. So we'll just kind of go through some of these things and talk about it. So one of the things that is important about this is that this Millennium Falcon is to scale the same Millennium Falcon that was used in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. They use it for both. In A New Hope, in Star Wars A New Hope, the model was actually like 5 feet long, whereas this one's nearly 3 feet long. So it was a much bigger model that they used in A New Hope. They weren't sure if they were going to be able to make another one, so they didn't keep that model. So it's the second one was just kind of built by the model team off of pictures and those kinds of things. So we get some information about our quad guns here, and they're quad laser cannons, as we all know, that had a very important role in A New Hope. And so here we get to see what the range or the firing arc is for those cannons. So as you can see, the way that the Falcon is shaped, it's not flat. So those cannons can actually shoot down at an angle most of the way around it. And then here we can see that they have a 345-degree radius around it. Only spot that it misses is where the dish is. So a lot of this is now this book will tell you that the cannons were actually upgrades that Han Solo put in, and that's the theory here. And so I don't recall if, when I saw the Solo movie, if it had the quad cannons in it or not. I don't quite recall. But according to this book, anyway, they're upgrades that Solo put in. And one of the important things as well is that I don't remember if it talks about this one. Oh, defying gravity. So this part's actually interesting, and let me just kind of pull it up here. So I don't know if you can read that. What I might do is put this in the comments, because I thought this was kind of an interesting factoid on how that works, because anybody that's seen the movie knows that you crawl up one way, you're crawling fine. You go down the other way, and you're going head first, and so you're not going, the gravity's not going against you or whatever. So you get to see that. This talks about that here and how that works. So let's go ahead and get to what we're going to be doing this time. Now, one of the interesting points, now, if you watched the, I'll be putting out a video showing all of the parts. I'm going to do that after this one, because of the fact that I want this one to be kind of somewhat of a surprise. So when you watch that video, you'll see all the parts and how I have them broken out. Well, one of the problems with that, and one of the reasons why I did that, was one of the reasons I wanted to go through all the parts, make sure everything was there, nothing broken, and all that kind of stuff. One of the problems with that is I should have went ahead and put them back in their package, so that way they were all self-contained. But instead, I put them all in little totes and that kind of stuff. Well, when I started to go through and get ready to do this, I had to go find all the parts. Well, sorting through all those parts was definitely a big pain. So let's just kind of see what all we have here. So as you can see, we have the quad laser here. Now, one thing is, let me see if I can bring this up here. So you can kind of see here, you can kind of see there, you can see that seam. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to file that seam off, just to make it look a little bit nicer. Probably file this one off here on the side as well. I do have some files that I'll be doing that with. Now these will come out. Some of them fit in a little bit stiffer than others. I'll probably stick a bit of glue or something inside there, but this will allow me to do this. Another thing I'm going to try to do is, you can see here on the end, it's all sealed up, and some of them are kind of rounded a little bit, so they're not completely flat. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to maybe use a Dremel or something, and I'm going to try to hollow this tip out a little bit. So as you can see, those tips are very small, so it's going to take some pretty precision work. I don't know if I'll do that on camera or not. I might try it on camera, but never fear, if it messes up, I do have extras, because of the fact that my brother started getting this same kit and only got like 2 or 3 months worth, and something had happened. He had, somebody had, stolen his account or something, so he had to change his credit card, and when he did, he didn't set up the subscription for this, and because he didn't, and like by the time he realized it, he kind of lost interest in it. So he gave me all of his extra parts, so I do have extra parts. So if I do screw these up and I just say forget it, I'll just file the ends off so they're smooth, then I at least have parts I can replace them with if I really mess it up too bad. But here's all the parts for the turret. Now the interesting thing is, we're going to put together this turret now in this issue, which I won't put it together until I file all the parts, but we'll put it together, and then it doesn't get used for quite a long time. So that's one of the interesting things about that. This is part of the shell, and so some of these, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. You can just make it out there. So there's a 1.4. I think that might translate to its spot. Let's see. Oh, nope. We have a hull. That's hull frame. Oh, hull plating 1, TP 1. So TP is top plating 1, and we have for the hull framing, we have top frame 1 and top frame 2. Now these, I can tell you, if you look on here, you can see, let me turn it this way. So you look on here, you can see TF01, and this one is TF02. So when you see the other video and you see all the frame pieces, you'll know how much of a pain that was to get those parts. And then we have all these screws, which I have a bunch of screws, and I just had to go through and look for the screws that I needed. These screws are going to be for the Canon, putting this together, and you'll actually end up with an extra piece. And then finally we have these pieces here. So the reason why I have them on here is I actually washed these with, if you've never really done any models, one of the things, because you get grease and stuff like that on your hands, plus the way that these are molded, they have, a lot of times they'll have like a solution to get them to come out of the molds. So it's recommended, not necessarily from the manufacturer, but from just good modeling practice. And I learned this with the model railroading stuff that I've researched, is you always want to wash your parts in some mild detergent, generally just dish soap, and rinse them really well with And there's a number on there. I don't know if it translates to anything, but rinse them really well with some distilled water. And so, and then dry them off with a lint-free cloth. In this case, it's just a paper towel. And we have this. This is the back part of the cockpit. So we're going to be putting that on. So if we look here, I'm going to slide this up out of the way, get all these frame pieces out of here. We'll get this Canon out of here for now. And this hull plating will not get used right now, so we'll just take that off to the side. And so we can look here, and we have, here's our first steps. So the first steps are going to be putting this sticker onto this back piece. Now, you want to be very careful in getting this sticker on correctly, because with all these holes here, there is a light board that will shine through, and it'll light up all of these. And there's kind of some tricks that I'm going to try. I've seen other people do it to get some coloring in there. So like this one, you can see in this, it's kind of an orange, and we have blues down here. So you can get kind of these transparent colors, and I'm going to get some of those, and I'll paint them on the back after I put this on there and do all that. But that'll be something I'll do a little bit later. And so we're going to put this on now. And just to show that my brother did in fact get this, when we finish the cockpit, it's going to look something similar to this. Now, if anybody that's paid attention to the movies and stuff, that's not what the seats look like. They weren't that color. And these weren't this clean and bright. So I'm probably going to try to do some painting of these and dress them up a little bit. Likewise, I'm also going to paint some of this cockpit, or these controls here, and then some of these controls on the side. But like I said, my brother started, and this is what he's gotten so far. And here's the light board that I mentioned as well that goes on the back. One of the things is this is extremely bright, so I'm curious if there's a way I could dim this down, because it's almost too bright, I feel. But maybe if I color these things here, at least that'll help the coloring, because otherwise it just comes off just really, really bright. But I wanted to kind of show that. So let's go ahead and get this sticker put on, because, you know, it's not going to put itself on, just like certain people did not hang themselves. So let's see if we can get this put on without messing it up too bad. Now, I will admit that I've watched others do this model, so I'm not coming into this a complete noob and completely uneducated as far as what this model requires. First of all, that did not get done correctly. So I've seen some things and whatever. So here's what we're going to try to do. So I'm going to stick this on here so we can line this up, right? So this lines up pretty well, and this will allow me to stick this in here and hopefully get this all lined up together. So let's see if we can make that happen. So that way we know. So we want to make sure, okay, there we go. So we want to make sure that we get that on there right. So we'll get this good and stuck on there. Let's see. There we go. So there's our first part. Very first thing I've done is put this together. Okay. So there we have that. We're not going to do anything with this right now to demonstrate that. I mean, it shows you putting it together, right? So it shows you kind of sticking this on there, which I could stick it on there and leave it like that. It's not going to hurt anything. I'm still contemplating painting this whole floor. I don't know if I'm going to, because you're not going to be able to see very much. I don't know how detailed I'm going to do. I do know I'm going to do the seats at the very least, and try to get all of these details. I'm going to do try some dry brushing techniques and do that, and then, you know, paint this like silver and stuff like that. And then there's parts on the sides that I'll probably do. And when I get this all done, I'll put a touch of glue back here just to hold this all together nice and tight. So let's set that off to the side. So I mentioned filing. So I have these needle files that I'm going to use. And so I'm going to use these to file these Canons down. Now, I don't know how long this is going to take to file. So I know this much. I'm not going to do all the filing on camera because you don't want to watch me do all that. Okay. So I'm going to start the filing. I am going to also, we'll do a quick review on what's going to be in issue 2. So issue 2, we have the top part where the turret goes. It comes with a screwdriver, some brackets that hold these frames together, some more frame, some detail parts here, or no, those are the screws and more of the little brackets that hold these together. This is it's called the DeAgostini table. I've got a technique that I'm going to do because I can tell you that the DeAgostini table is not black and white. It's black and kind of this silvery color. So I'm going to see if I can't do something to make that a little bit better. And then I'll talk about this part, and then this is the actual dashboard, and we put the sticker on that as well. So that's issue 2, and then we get to see issue 3 is when we get the seats and stuff. But that's in the future still. So let's go ahead and get started on these Canons, and let's see how this goes. So I'm going to, I don't know which one's going to be best. So we're going to just start off with this one here. And let's just see how this goes. So let's just see how this goes. So as you're filing, you want to kind of roll with it because otherwise you're going to end up with a flat spot, right? So you're going to want to roll with this to keep it rounded. So it files off pretty well. I took that seam off really well. Now I don't know how much of a seam there really was on that one, but we're gonna just kind of keep going with it. And I just want to make sure that it's not obvious, especially because I do plan on painting this barrel because it's not that color, right? So I'll kind of bring this book out here in a minute, back out, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So one of the things I'm going to do, like I said, because of the fact that it's not going to be until the future. So you can see here, it's kind of a gray. The Canon's about the same color gray as the Millennium Falcon, and then the ends are you can see that theirs are got holes in them. Maybe they're not. Maybe they just painted black little dots on there, which I could do. But then the ends are blackened from all the soot from the lasers. So that's how I'm going to paint this. So like here we can see that we do have a seam on the bottom part here. And I just want to make sure that when I do paint it, that seam doesn't stick out real bad. So another thing with these files it's important to note is when you're doing modeling, there might be times when you need to use a file on plastic. Well, one of the things that you need to keep in mind is not to use the same files for metal that you use on plastic. Or don't use the same files that you use on metal on plastic. Reason is because it's not noticeable yet, but the filings will get stuck in the file. And what that'll do is that'll cause you to leave some pretty bad scuffs on your plastic pieces and scar it pretty bad. And so we want to avoid that. So what we're going to do is I actually have another file set here in case that I need to file any plastics. This file set will be used for plastics only. This file set will get used for metal. And now anybody that's ever used a file, fingernail file or anything like that, I'm sure that you'll probably saying, but Gary, what happens when you're doing this filing and this does get all clogged up with files? Interesting. You can take this and boil it in hot water, and when you do those filings, you can get the filings out. So that's something I've learned from some of my friends who do modeling and stuff like that. So yeah, so let's just kind of keep going along here. And like I said, if it's not quite perfect, that's fine. I just want to make sure that those seams aren't super noticeable. So so I'm just kind of rolling it. I don't know if you can see that. Sorry, I don't know if you can see that. I'm kind of rolling it back and forth as I'm filing it. So because that way I'll avoid having any flat pieces. So okay, so here we are. Let's see how this comes through. So here it is. I think I've gotten this one all filed down. That's interesting because it kind of looked like there was a seam right there, but that's actually on the side, so I know there's no seam right there. The seams are here and here. And I think I've got them all filed down on this one. So there we go. There's one. I'm going to go ahead and file the rest of these down. Probably going to take me a while. And when I get done, we'll put this thing all together. So maybe I'll start on this part here. Hopefully it'll go a little bit faster. My hands were starting to cramp up doing this one here. So that's no good. I don't want my hands to cramp up. So just trying to hold it is definitely a pain. So I'll see you back here in a little bit. Look at that. All that is filings. And you can see on my thumb there, my thumbnail, looks like I got glitter on it. There you go. See all the dust on my thumb. Okay, so we've got this all done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this paper towel. We'll just wipe all these pieces off. When I actually get ready to paint it, I'll actually wash this, because especially with metal, you know, these were done in molds and they have a release agent on them, and plus all the, you know, holding it with my hands and stuff, get all those oils from my hands and everything on there. But I just want to get some of the filings off. There we go. Okay, so it's funny, they give us these screws, and technically they haven't given us the screwdriver yet. So I don't know how they actually expect us to put this together if I was doing this in order. This is the actual screwdriver they give you, and it's not magnetic, which kind of sucks, but we're going to go ahead and put this together anyway. So let's open this back up here and make sure that we do this right. Okay, so we're going to take this part, and we're going to take this part, not that one, this one, this part here, and this is going to go on there, right? Yes. Okay, now let's put both of these on. That would make sense, because how else are we going to get that on there? Yeah, get both of these on. Helps when you follow the instructions, because the instructions actually tell you that. Put them both on. Okay, Now we do this. These go in like that. All right. There we go. Now we get that on there, and then this goes over the top like that. Now goes like that. All right. Now we can take our screws, and we'll just slide this one in there. Oh, fumble. All right, we're safe for now. Get that in there. We got our screw in there. And there's one. Get one in, and we're kind of home free. Now, I don't know anybody that's done any kind of modeling or interested in 3D parts, 3D printed parts. There's the called Shapeways, and I'm gonna do this one a little bit. So there's a group called Shapeways or whatever, and people have done many of these parts, and they've done them in 3D printing. And the nice thing about the 3D printing is you don't have all these seams. You don't have any of this stuff. Why is this not going together? Why is this starting to? All right, starting to. Try to get it tight. There we go. Very fine threads. That's the problem. Very fine threads. And the screwdriver is nearly too big to fit inside of here. All right, so those are tight. Let's tighten this one back up. I almost need a smaller screwdriver, a smaller head to it, to really get down in there. Okay, that's getting tight. That's tight. Tight. Okay, so they're all tight. Apparently too tight, because now I can't. Well, I suppose I don't want it to be real flimsy. All right, we'll put these barrels in here. There we go. One quad Canon is completed. And with that, technically we've done everything for the first issue. And again, here's a close-up of this is, I believe this is actually off of the Millennium Falcon model, this one here, that they scanned when they made this. So yeah, so it gives you an idea of how close to detail this is. Pretty close. It's not quite 100% detailed. Looks like there's some detailing up on this front part here that this one doesn't have, but I would say it's close enough for government work. And especially after you paint it and stuff, you're not going to really see a lot of that, but looks pretty good, you know. So with that, we'll call that an end to issue 1. I hope everybody enjoyed this. I'm sorry for the delay. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you want to see me try to put in these divots on the front and see if I can mess them up or not. Like I said, I have backups, so if I mess them up, it's not that big of a deal. I can always, file down one of the backups and put it in here. Or maybe I'll try to do that on one of the backups first. And if I screw up the backup, then I don't have to worry about it. I can just leave this one together. And if that happens, then what I'll do is I'll just put a drop of glue in here, put these in, and leave them in. And then it's just a matter of painting. So then again, I might paint this, pull the barrels out and paint it separately. I don't know. I think I'll paint it all together. I can just, prime it and all that kind of stuff. I actually bought some metal pieces. I think it's the same metal. I bought some metal stuff from Hobby Lobby that they use for like Pine One Derby and different stuff like that. And I bought that so I could use it as a test to see how the paint would go on there. So like I said, I'll have to wash this really good before I paint it, and it's going to be a while before we paint this. But just know that that's on there. So here we go. Let's see what all we've done this issue, and we have one leftover screw. This is everything that we've done. We've put our sticker on and all that kind of stuff. I'm leaving this up here away from all this dust. I'll definitely have to clean up that dust, but wow. So I've got a lot of editing to do because this is an hour and 8 minutes. So we'll edit that down so it'll be something a lot more entertaining. Also, let me know in the comments if you guys want me to pick out little factoids and read them or whatever. Like I said, if you guys are interested, I'll maybe make a comment with what this is or something or whatever. But if you guys are interested in some of these factoids, let me know and I'll go through them and read them out to you. This one's kind of interesting, the Greeblies. Maybe I'll talk about that one of the future issues. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
That's enough for the moment. His time will come